How you doing, everybody? Tim here once again, coming to you on Sunday morning after yet another disappointment for Toronto FC. Arguably a bigger disappointment than the Houston game. How you doing? Hope everybody's having a nice weekend, enjoying the soccer, enjoying the Euros, enjoying the nice weather, and hopefully finding some positives in the long list of negatives that is Toronto FC this season. I can't call yesterday at BMO Field anything but yet another significant disappointment for this team. When you're up 1-0 after 3 minutes, when you're up 2-0 at the half against a team that's been struggling to score goals like the New England Revolution, and you end up not getting 3 points, I think it's very fair to say that that is a more significant disappointment than not coming away with 3 points in Houston, Texas against the Houston Dynamo, a team that has been a long, perennial powerhouse in MLS. And I think it's fair to say that particularly in the second half of the game that we saw yesterday, that the New England Revolution significantly outplayed Toronto FC. And again, you can take your pick as to why you think that might have been. Was that due to, again, playing their third game on 3 days rest? The heat, the issue with some of the players being suspended, which I'll get to at the end of this blog as well. Take your pick. New coach, new system. Again, the team did not come through with a full 90-minute performance yesterday, which was really, really disappointing. 2 goals, one on a runner in the 94th minute that was not picked up by the TFC defense once again. The same kind of stupid mistakes and problems exist. And there goes 3 points, 3 points that I think Toronto FC desperately needed from a confidence perspective. There were a few positives. Julian de Guzman continues to make a case for being arguably TFC's best player over the last 6 or 7 games. He was very strong again in the midfield yesterday. Not as strong in the second as the first, but I think overall he had a very good game. Danny Kuverman scored again. That's for those Kuverman's doubters out there. That's 5 goals in 5 games right now. That's 10 goals in 20 appearances. Actually, no, that's 14 goals in 20 appearances for TFC right now for Danny Kuverman. So he's slowly but surely getting it right offensively. It was really nice to see Ryan Johnson score yesterday as well and break his duck in MLS. If you remember back to the Champions League, which seems like such a long time ago right now, Johnson seemed to have a knack to score very, very important goals in Champions League competition almost in every game. To keep the Reds in it as long as they were. And it's quite encouraging from an offensive perspective to actually see both Johnson and Kuverman scoring in the same game. Milos Kosic probably was man of the match yesterday for the Reds. He made 3 world-class saves late to keep the game close. If he was having an off game yesterday, I think and New England was playing to their credit as well as they were. I think it could have been 5-2 New England instead of 2-all. He had a really, really strong game yesterday, but he cannot be blamed for what happened late when, again, on a whipped ball into the box, almost the equivalent of a set piece. And once again, TFC blows the defensive coverage, gives a guy a clear look, puts the ball in the net, and there goes the 3 points. You've got nobody to blame but the center backs, the full backs, the defensive midfielders, and the coach. I just don't know what to say anymore about the defense other than the fact that it has to get better, and it has to get better soon if this team is to secure any meaningful / measurable success this season. One thing I thought that was really interesting as well was seeing the surprise appearance of Luis Silva yesterday. He came on late for Toronto FC. For those of you that have been living under a rock in the last few weeks, you would have obviously known that he was one of 3 Toronto FC players arrested last Sunday in Houston, Texas, after a nightclub altercation at like 2:45 in the morning. The 3 players, him, Nick Sulzma and Miguel Aceval were all arrested, charged, and subsequently released. It was a bit of a shock to see Silva come off the bench yesterday and play. It was a bit of a shock to actually see him dressed. Kurt Larson, who writes for the Toronto Sun, a good friend of mine who actually is probably one of the best journalists following this team, wrote yesterday that he's hearing some reports that Toronto FC is working with Major League Soccer, looking for a way, if at all possible, to release Sulzma and Aceval and get them out of the team. Aceval has been a bust. He's been a disappointment. Nick Sulzma, who I think has potential. I think Paul Mariner, again, from all accounts, looks at him as a Winter boy rather than a Mariner boy. He doesn't really fit in to a Mariner style and Mariner system, so it looks like it's quite possible that both of those players are going to be gone very, very soon. What that means for the 18 on the bench, the starting 11, what it means for players that are on the outside looking in, like Burgos, like Stinson, Cordone, players of that ilk that are not really getting a look in right now remains to be seen, because TFC can't really start reinforcing until the summer transfer window opens again in July. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there, and I'll have more on this as we hear more over the next few days. Now, coming up on Wednesday for Toronto FC is going to be an absolutely massive game in Montreal at the newly renovated Saputo Stadium versus the Montreal Impact, another derby game. It's going to be TFC's second league game. The first one I was lucky enough to attend at the very decrepit Olympic Stadium. Now they're going to the shiny renovated Saputo next door. I don't think there's going to be a large amount of TFC people going down, maybe upwards of 100, because again the game is on a weeknight, which I think is kind of stupid for a derby game. I would have loved a chance to have gone again to that game. But I think it's going to be a huge test for Toronto FC. A few video blogs ago, I set 3 goals for measurable success for this team. Things that I think the team should realistically try to embrace between now and the end of the season if they try to measure success for this new Paul Mariner era and success individually for the players that are with the team and still with the team down the road. Play hard for a full 90 minutes. Unfortunately, for the first couple of games, the last 2 games under Paul Mariner, they have not done that. I think in Houston it was a good 70-minute effort. Yesterday I think it was a good 45-minute effort. We saw some positive signs in both of those periods, but again they haven't put together a full 90-minute performance under Paul Mariner as of yet. Whether that's coaching, whether that's quality, or whether it's a combination of the two, again, that's for you, dear viewer, to decide. But playing hard for 90 minutes, making the team competitive in the Champions League, which I'll get to in a second as well. Some good news about the Champions League. And finishing ahead of the Montreal Impact, our new down-the-road rival, I think are realistic goals for this team. And winning in Montreal on Wednesday, not a draw, not a loss, but a win, a solid 90-minute performance and a win against the Montreal Impact would go a long way towards helping the team regain some of the confidence that we've been seeing in bits and pieces over the last couple of games under Mariner and his new 4-4-2 system. So the Champions League. If you remember, TFC was drawn in tough, particularly with Santos Laguna in their group, the team that put them out of the semifinals the last Champions League campaign. And it's a group of 3 rather than a group of 4 right now. So there's only going to be 2 home games, 2 away games, and only the winner of the group actually advances. TFC has had a very strong home record over the last 3 seasons in the Champions League. And the luck of the draw gives TFC its first 2 games at home against Santos Laguna and the other team that name escapes me right now. If TFC wins its first 2 games at home, and I think that those are realistic goals. No Mexican team has ever come to Toronto and won. They've come here and drawn, but they've never come here and won before. I think getting 6 points early on will increase the pressure on Santos Laguna and put a little bit more pressure on them, making them have a lot more must-win games. They've got their, I'm not sure if it's the Clausura or the Apertura that they're dealing with right now, but they've got their own domestic worries to deal with, and a little more pressure put on them by Toronto FC getting off to a good start in the Champions League with 2 home games to start with. Considering how poor the draw was for the Reds, I don't think the schedule could do us any more favors than it did. So that's a good thing. And we should be hearing, by the way, about tickets for the Champions League in the next few weeks and how these fans have been suffering. I really hope the TFC again takes a page from what it did at the Rogers Centre and has some dirt cheap tickets available for the Champions League to help paper that house and get that house filled with TFC supporters for the Champions League. I've also got some video here from Armed Forces Day yesterday at BMO Field. It was pretty cool seeing the CF-18s fly over, and I got to shake a few hands of some service people and thank them for their service yesterday, which I thought was kind of cool. And I've got some video from the stands as well that I want to share with you as well. So thank you for watching. I'll have more on the blog over the next couple of days, and I'll have another video blog posted on Wednesday night after the TFC Montreal game at Stade Cheese. Thanks, and we'll see you soon. Cheers.